All right, now, welcome. And first of all, I want to say huge congratulations on completing your hormone reset cleanse, or maybe you're getting ready to complete your hormone reset cleanse. You've given your body a reset that it deserves, and now it's time to unlock the next phase of your journey. So you're going to be reintroducing foods that you've omitted over these last 14 days. But remember, if you haven't yet experienced the improvements you're aiming for, it's okay to extend the cleanse up to 6 weeks. We talked about that, but no longer than 6 weeks. So you can stick with it. So we'll expand on that a little bit more, but every step you're taking is going to get you closer to just feeling amazing and healing your body. So let's go ahead and get into it. Now, for those of you that are ready, you're going to start reintroducing foods after these past 14 days, or maybe even at 6 weeks. You're going to do it the same way, whether you do it 14 days or if you do it 6 weeks. This phase is all about discovering how your body truly responds to the foods you eliminated, so you can gain powerful insights into what fuels your health and what holds it back. And basically, I always talk about it. It's like you might have loved the food, but it doesn't love you back. So you're going to make decisions based on how it makes you feel. And also based on what it is that you really want to achieve. Because people will always say to me, well, Lydia, I've realized that gluten bothers me. So should I stop doing gluten? Well, that's the quick answer, but the answer is how is it that you want to feel? What is it that you want to achieve? Is it worth it to you to consume that gluten if you're intolerant to it? Now, I'll talk a little bit more about that, but I just want you to think about that. So we're all about listening to our body, or to your body. I say it all the time. Your body's talking to you all the time, but we fail to hear what it says because there's so much noise. And we've been taught in society a pill for an ill instead of saying, let's get to the root. When we have dark circles under our eyes, when we have itchy skin, psoriasis, eczema, acne, thinning hair, low energy, puffy eyes, dark eyes, sinus issues, acid reflux, digestive distress, feeling hungover when we haven't even been drinking after an 8 to 10 hours sleep, never feeling rested, achy joints, being bloated, cellulite. I mean, all of these things are signs and symptoms that something's going on with your body. And we've been taught to do some ibuprofen or do a blue pill or get some eczema cream or all the things, and said, okay, what is it that I'm putting in my system that my body's rejecting? What is it that I'm putting in my system, or that I need to put in my system to help my body start healing itself? So all of that being said, you're going to learn how to listen to your body. And for some of you, this is going to be really easy. And then for others, it might take a little time. What do I mean by that? Because your body might need some more healing and cleaning. So you might not get clear answers right away. Like we have Teresa, where she did a long phase of reintroduction, and I'll have her share her story more on one of our virtual clinics. But it took her a lot longer to go through the reintroduction because her body was so inflamed. She wasn't sure what was triggering, what wasn't triggering. So that's why staying on the cleanse up to 6 weeks, the hormone reset cleanse, if you are not experiencing any, uh, let me say, or if you're still experiencing, like if you might be feeling a little bit better, but not 100%, you still have digestive distress, you're not sleeping well, maybe you've been constipated. Well, go back to our FAQ under the cleanse so you know what to do. But if you're still feeling very sluggish and tired, it could be your calories, it could be low, not enough protein, not enough fat, and or that your body is still detoxing. So it's safe to say even in another 7 days or another 14 days, but up to 6 weeks will not hurt you. But again, don't go past the 6 weeks. So often when it comes to our cleanse, we're so proud of ourselves that we've made it to the end. We did so good with everything. And then we just fall off because we just said, okay, I'm just going to start doing whatever. We had one client to where she did amazing, was feeling amazing, and she actually did 4 weeks. But then the day of her reintroduction, she goes to a party, and it's okay to go to the party. It's okay to enjoy yourself. But when you're doing a reintroduction, you don't want to put everything back in your body. She had corn chips and she had gluten, she had dairy, she had all the things. The next day, she felt like crap, obviously, but we couldn't pinpoint what food was bothering her because she did all of the foods. So it's really important that you take it slow and steady. Don't jump back into eating everything. Be cautious and follow the steps outlined in your guide and what we're going to cover here for the reintroduction after the 14 days. So, there's more comprehensive information that we're going to talk about what your next steps are going to be, but be systematic and be patient with reintroducing one food at a time. And I'll talk a little bit more about that. So, can you follow it longer? A lot of times people, and I've already alluded to this, I said not over 6 weeks. Sometimes we've had clients to where they're like, can I follow it longer? Because they feel so amazing. They're actually afraid to do the reintroduction. And I don't want you to be afraid to do the reintroduction. I want you to be excited to do the reintroduction because knowledge really is power, and you get empowered. Once you identify what foods are bothering you, you get to make a decision. Do I want to feel this way sometimes or not at all? Is it worth it to you? Perfect example. I talk about this all the time when it comes to myself. I'm intolerant to dairy. I'm intolerant to gluten, and I'm intolerant to corn. I'm like 90% gluten-free, dairy-free, corn-free, right? Because every once in a while I'll do things. I'll if I'm going to do it, I do something in the form of pizza because I absolutely love pizza. But it's more and more, the longer that I stay away from those three things, it's harder for me to do because my body feels so great. Corn is one. Absolutely love corn. Do you know how hard being half Mexican, loving tacos, not eating a real fresh corn tortilla? It's hard, but corn is really easy for me to say, no, I don't want to do it because it gives me massive headaches. It makes my eyes puffy. I just have a slow detoxification when it comes to corn and even dairy, to where it just builds up in my lymphatic system. It makes me retain water, but I get massive headaches. So I stay away from it. So going back to, can I follow it longer? You can follow it up to 6 weeks. The reason we don't want to go past 6 weeks because of the ratios. You're doing the amount of protein that you need for your specific body weight and age. You're doing a higher amount of fat and lower amount of carbohydrates. You're also doing by default, because of the foods that you are choosing, automatically doing anywhere from 14 to 1600 calories, which is low. So we don't want to go past 6 weeks of low caloric intake, and we don't want to go past 6 weeks of low carbohydrate, starchy carbohydrate intake. Because then if we go too long, what happens is that your body can go through metabolic adaptation. And I'll teach more on this as we move through the system. But basically what happens is that your body will start to adapt to the amount of calories that you're taking in. So it'll lower the rate at which it's burning fuel. We don't want that. We want to speed up your metabolism. Second part of that, with low carbohydrate, then it can put a strain on your thyroid and strain on testosterone production. Even though your body produces testosterone from fat, it can put a strain on it. So we don't want to go past 6 weeks. But again, don't be afraid to reintroduce foods. You get to make the decision. Do I want to feel this way sometimes or not at all? And one of the things that I found, the better that you feel, the easier it is to make decision. Hence, like I talk about corn, it's easy for me to say no because I know that I love corn, but it doesn't love me back. And then the question of, should I follow it longer? Well, I just talked about that. Are you still feeling symptoms? Are you feeling a little bit better, but not great? Get on the scale. Now remember, when it comes to the scale, there's a lot of variables, but inches, body fat, and or weight, if it really hasn't moved, then it wouldn't hurt. But again, go by how you are feeling. Go back to my best body assessment, do your ratings of how you're feeling. Also, look at your hormone profile diagnostic. Example, we had one client just recently. In 2 weeks, her numbers dropped dramatically, and that's a good thing as far as the hormone profile diagnostic. So she got a huge improvement in just 14 days. So those are the things of looking at the data, that's why journaling is important and things like that, understanding the data to help you make decisions versus emotion. Now, with the reintroduction coming off the cleanse, once you've avoided the certain foods for 14 days of the cleanse, you're going to slowly reintroduce them. You're going to reintroduce them one by one. You're going to journal up to 72 hours after your reintroduction of a specific food. Do not reintroduce another food for like at least 72 hours. If you do not have experience of any inflammatory symptoms after 24 hours, go ahead and remove the introduced food and add in a new food. So understand when you're doing this reintroduction, what we're doing is your first food is going to be like rye. And they're like, I can't find 100% rye. Just get any rye, okay? If you can't find 100% rye bread, you only need one slice. You don't need to do a lot. See, because the longer that you refrain from taking in things like rye or gluten or dairy or inflammatory corns, which, inflammatory grain, then your body will tell you very quickly, usually, right? It just depends on how burden your detoxification your system actually is. So you can journal up to 72 hours. Let me repeat that. But if you don't have any inflammatory response in the 24-hour period, then go ahead and reintroduce the next food that you have eliminated. If you experience a symptom of inflammation, then you need to remove that food and eat only the cleansed foods for the next 3 days. So see how it can take another 14 days. You're like, holy cow, I know, but it's worth it. Trust me, because you only have to do this once. You do it right the first time, you only have to do it once. You can do the cleanse, once a quarter, but you're not going to have to keep redoing the reintroduction because when you know, you know. Does that make sense? I know I'm talking to you, but I know this is a recording. All right, so we're going to do the reintroduction. So in here, I said one slice. You can do 2 slices. It's really not, one slice is going to do the trick. It's up to you. I personally don't like rye bread. I like my husband rye. Don't like rye bread. So one slice would be enough for me. But you're going to listen to your body and try to refrain from eating foods that you have trigger reactions in your body. Like if you suddenly develop congestion or headache or other inflammatory systems that have cleared up while on the cleanse, then you're sensitive to that food. You're either sensitive to that food or your gut is completely jacked up. And as we're moving through the system, we'll talk more about that and protocols to actually completely heal your gut. And then I would love for you to talk about your experience in the community. I want to hear about your progress, right? Talk about it in the community, any questions. But we're going to start out with rye bread. And you can do it anyway. I'm just giving you an example here, 2 slices of 100% rye or just get rye bread with a quarter of avocado spread on the bread, 1 whole egg. You do 2 eggs, you can do it plus egg whites. But here's an example of what I do because I would break my fast. This is how I break my fast. I do 3 eggs. I do about 30 to 40 grams of avocado. I'll do 1 to 2 slices of a gluten-free bread. So if I was reintroducing foods because I was off the cleanse and I needed to know, then that's where I would incorporate the bread. Does that make sense? Then lunch, you can do sweet potato squash, ginger soup. You want to reintroduce things slowly, but also you want to pay attention. You don't want to overburden your system. And why is it 72 hours? We're doing 72 hours. Like if you experience a symptom, it's going to take up to 72 hours for it to actually clear up. What you eat today, people think, well, I went to the bathroom this morning. That was yesterday's meal. Not really. You know, you can hold up to 18 to 24 pounds of fecal matter in your system. So I know that's disgusting, right? I always joke we are full of it, figuratively and literally. But here's the thing, it takes 72 hours to get through when you have a healthy digestion. If you have low gastric emptying, women already have issues with estrogen, I mean, not estrogen, gastric emptying in general, because we have less room than men when it comes to our large and small intestines and our gut, all of these things. It's just shorter in inches. So that makes it slower. But then if our detoxification, we have a gunked up liver, we have a jacked up gut, we have inflammation. It doesn't just always just subside in 14 days. The sooner you get through this in the sense of taking care of your body and giving it healing foods, the faster it can go. But also remember, how many years have you been walking around with inflammation and a jacked up gut and a gunked up liver? So it's going to be a slow process, but going back to it, be a full 72 hours for symptoms to subside once they flare up. Then you're going to go into reintroducing things like Greek yogurt. Now, what's really cool, because I've healed my gut over the process of the years, I can't do milk, which I don't like milk anyway. When I say conventional cow dairy, I can't do cheeses, mozzarella, which I love pizza, right? Which is a big one that really bothers me. It makes me super thirsty. The next day, my whole face is swollen. My eyes are swollen. I'm congested, all the things. But I can do Greek yogurt. Yay. So I've been able to reintroduce that back in. But what you're going to do is you reintroduce Greek yogurt because it's higher in protein, it's better processed. And what's the difference? Why do we have issues with dairy? We have issues with dairy because conventional cow dairy, well, it's going to have a lot of crap in it if it's not organic. Number two, it's the A1 to A2 protein. Conventional cow dairy has A1 protein. Some of us, because of our DNA, we have issue of breaking down the A1 protein. Sometimes it's casein, and then it's the A1 protein. I am one of those individuals. But however, again, I can do Greek yogurt. But I can also do sheep and goat cheese, goat milk, those type of things. Why? And you might be able to do them too. So you get to test them out because they're the A2 protein. So it's gotten a little easier if I've fallen in love with goat cheese. Okay. Now, so day 15, you do rye. Day 17, you're doing yogurt. On day 19, you're going to do things like a soft cheese. Here I have cottage cheese, but you can test cottage cheese. You can test feta. You can test cream cheese. You can test ricotta, but only test one. Don't do all of them. Test one of them. Because you might find out, and again, this will make the process longer, but it's worth it if you're a cheese lover, that you test them out, because you might be able to do cottage cheese, but can't do feta, or you might be able to do feta, but can't do cottage cheese, or cream cheese and vice versa, those things. As a snack, you are going to do, it doesn't have to be low fat. Just, it depends on, we put low fat in here because sometimes I like to make my fat up in different areas. So I'll make my fat up in good fats like avocado, coconut oil, olive oil, instead of in like dairies. But 2 slices of a low fat cheese, it's a harder cheese, and it's a it's all type of fermentation types of cheese. But you're going to test that as well. So your symptoms with all of these foods, it's on your chart or your guide, but you want to pay attention to. Do you start feeling bloated? Do you feel fatigued? Do you get headache? Do you get sinus issues? Do you get gassy? Are you constipated? Are you retaining water? Do you get itchy eyes? The hormonal balances, like, do you notice where, for 14 days you haven't had any night sweats, and now you go to bed and you wake up, you have night sweats? The night sweats are triggered by food, sugar, alcohol specifically will trigger them. But then if we're intolerant to food, it can throw off are, what's the word that they use? Sorry, I'm having a little brain cramp here. But it's your temperature mechanism. That's what happens when our hormones start to go down. We start breaking into hot sweats, and foods can be the trigger of that. So day 19, that's what you're going to test. Then you go into things like different grains. Like you're going to go into spelt, you're going to go into wheat, day 25, corn on day 27, day 29, you're going to do red meat, organic, grass-fed. It's okay if it's grain finished, long as it is organic, non-GMO. When it's grass-fed, it usually is. Why is grain finished okay? Because when you're getting the right type of grass-fed beef, they are doing the grain finish to fatten it up, but also they're increasing in a good way. They give it good grains. They should be giving it good grains if it's not conventional cow. They give it grains that will increase the omega-3 fatty acids, which is good. So that's good for your body, but also increase the good saturated fat. Reminder that if any of the food causes a reaction, don't worry. Just do the cleansed foods for another 3 days and then try a new food. And what's really cool, one of the things I'm going to suggest, once you get through all of this, you identify, as I said, find out what food you're intolerant to. Then you get to make an educated decision. Do I want to feel this way? Sometimes not at all, whatever. And then from there, start adding in and trying, especially if you're a cheese head, you love cheese, love dairy, then once you get through it, start trying like the goat cheese, goat milk, sheep milk. I know it took me the longest time, you guys, to try them because it just didn't sound appetizing to me. I don't know, it kind of like creeped me out. But once I did, oh my gosh, I'll put goat cheese on freaking everything. And what's cool is that goat cheese can act as like cream cheese. And if you make cream cheese icing, you can actually make cream cheese icing. But that's a whole nother conversation. But anyway, don't rush through the process. You're in control. Once you know which foods are causing issues, it's up to you whether you want to cut them out, limit them, or enjoy them in moderation. The best part is that you get to decide how you want to feel. This is a journey about empowering you to take control of your health and live your best life. Inflammation free, balanced hormones, drop in that body fat, getting svelte, energetic, and your best self at 40 and beyond. So the mistakes are, already talked about it, rushing through it. Don't rush the process. And if you couldn't do it completely right, pick the time to where you can do the cleanse correctly, because this is empowering information. Don't fret, don't stress. You can go back and redo it anytime. What the cool part is, like I've already said, is like once you do the hormone reset cleanse and the reintroduction in its entirety, you only have to do the reintroduction once ever in your life. Another mistake, eating anything, talked about that, and then not following the process. Common, it's common sense right there, ladies. You know how to do this. You can do this. And I cannot wait to hear about your results. Be honest with yourself, ask yourself, follow the chart. How do you want to feel? Don't be afraid. And one of the things I always talk about, remember, food intolerances, when we have irritation, that creates inflammation. When we create inflammation, it's going to disrupt our gut. When we disrupt our gut, we have a disrupted liver. You have a disrupted liver, you have a disrupted gut. It increases our cortisol, it's more stress on our body, and it keeps you in that evil cycle of the hormone weight gain cycle that you're trying to get out of. Be patient with yourself. There is grace in the journey. And again, I cannot wait to hear your results. Make sure that you come over into the community and share how you're feeling, share what you've learned. You got this.